would like to make a call, please hang up and try again.
Hello, everybody. I'm so glad everyone is here. Not quite everybody. Rima Mati said, hoping it's good news for the boys. Lisa's making banana bread. Carol says, guilty. I agree. The case is simply, I shouldn't say simply, it is circumstantial. That is 100% because they have never found the bodies. I call them classic and sincere because that was their birth names. Hello, Justin. How are you? To me, the evidence is overwhelming. And particularly the testimony by another child in the house that said he saw a dead body that was cold. Let's go through some of the backstory and then we will get to the trial.
This half hour with the intensifying search for two young brothers who went missing from their backyard almost 7 weeks ago. The reward for their whereabouts now increasing. This morning, ABC News getting an exclusive interview as we learn about some threats allegedly being made against the boys' adopted family. ABC's Zareen Shah joins us with more. Good morning, Zareen.
Good morning, Eva. For the first time, we're hearing from the adoptive dad's family. Look, these boys have been missing over 40 days, but a small California city determined to find them. This morning, the family of the adoptive father of the two California city brothers who vanished, speaking exclusively to ABC News.
I just know that they were really good parents as far as I was concerned.
We offered a reward out of our own pockets.
That reward for 4-year-old Oren and 3-year-old Orson increasing to $120,000, contributed by multiple parties. Authorities receiving more than 2,000 tips and using imaging devices at their adoptive parents, Trezell West and his wife Jacqueline's home, to search for the boys. But now the adoptive dad's family says they're targets, not from authorities, but from the public.
It is misguided to blame uncles and aunts and grandparents for children who are missing that we love and care about and are trying to find.
Right now, there are people outside the home talking about where are the boys.
Police have not named any suspects.
I'm working so hard literally day and night to find these kids.
The boys were adopted in 2019 and disappeared late December. The adoptive parents saying they last saw them in their backyard.
Came inside the house, searched the house, me and my wife. Once that didn't pan out, I got in the van.
Neighbor surveillance showing Drizel jumping into that van looking for his boys, the couple then calling police. The chief maintaining hope, but still suspects foul play. The biological mother devastated.
I don't have not one evil bone in my body. And for this to happen to me, it's a lot for me.
As the community continues holding vigils, the family reminding everyone they are in deep pain too.
It's like the people don't realize that we are grieving, we are hurting just like they are.
The Wests have 4 other children. They are in protective custody. The chief saying this is protocol because those first 2 kids disappeared under their parents' care. Dan?
Wrenching story all the way around. Zoreen, thank you very much.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking.
Horrible. Horrible. And the question is, where did they go? Where did they go?
Court watch and staggering testimony today in the trial of Drizel and Jacqueline West, accused of murdering their 2 adoptive boys more than 2 years ago. An interview with the couple's eldest biological son was played in court this afternoon. In it, the boy, who was 10 years old at the time, told investigators that his parents chopped up Oren's food one night, blended it, and then put it in a bottle. He says his parents did this because Oren chewed with his mouth open. Well, they went to bed, the boy says, and in the night he heard noises but didn't think anything of it. The next morning, the boy says Oren was found face down on his mattress. The boy said he touched Oren's body and it was cold, prompting gasps from the courtroom audience.
And KGT.com court reporter Jason Katowski is joining us in studio now with more on today's testimony. Jason, what else did the 12-year-old boy say?
Well, the boy in the video, he was 10 at the time, and he told investigators that that Oren died about a week before they moved from Bakersfield, an apartment in Bakersfield, to a house in California City. He said that Oren had the blended bottle of food and that later he stole a drink from Orson. After he stole the drink, he said that his parents told Orson to punch Oren for taking that, and that later they all went to bed. He said he didn't see the punch, but he said they all went to bed. He said he heard some noises in the night, but didn't think anything of it because Oren and Orson always made noises when they slept. The next morning, he saw Oren face down on the mattress. He left the room to go to his schoolroom. They were being homeschooled at the time, and he didn't know what had happened. He said later he came back and his parents were crying, and he saw that Oren had vomited, and his color was, according to him, fading. He said he touched the body, it was cold, and his parents asked him if they should call an ambulance. And they told him, if the police do come, there's a possibility that all of you guys could be taken away from us. So the boys said, no, we shouldn't call anyone. He said he was afraid that he'd be separated from his family. He says in the video that he doesn't know what they did with the body, but that they moved to California City about a week later. And 4 days after being in California City, Orson disappeared. He said the night before, Orson was in the house. In the middle of the night, he heard a noise, kind of a thump, as if a soap bottle was falling, is what he described it as. And that the next day, Orson was gone. So he said that was part of his live testimony today. That was not in the video.
And the parents, he says his parents told him that Orson went to their grandmother's house and he never saw him again, right?
Yes, that's right. He said that Orson was taken to his grandmother, Maria, who is Jacqueline West's mother, and that he never, they didn't explain why he left, and that he never saw Orson again.
So aside from the recorded interview, what about the boy's testimony on the witness stand today?
Sure, he seemed a little unsure at first, but then after they played the video, he seemed far more confident, and he maintained that Oren did die and that Orson was taken from the house. And even under cross-examination, more than an hour of cross-examination, he said that Oren and Orson had not been there for a long time and stuck to his story.
All right. Jason, so what happens next in this trial?
Next, they're calling a couple more witnesses tomorrow, and it's possible the prosecution could rest as early as tomorrow or Thursday, and then we're expecting the defense to start calling witnesses and present their.
Well, they have rested, and the jury has been deliberating. Early reports right now, as if it's a Super Bowl, are saying that the jury is going to come back not guilty. Now, how can that be? How can that be? The jury instructions to me were siding with the defense. Very strange. Very strange.
Mark, Detective John Ryan taking the stand again today, this time being questioned by the defense regarding his interview with Jacqueline the day after the boys were reported missing. During that interview, he told Jacqueline he'd be the first to apologize if he were wrong. Well, today in court, defense attorney Alexia Torres-Stallings told Ryan that she's going to hold him to that. Now, on Friday, Ryan testified that he watched surveillance video of the family getting into their van on December 19th, 2020, when Trezell and Jacqueline were taking their children to Bakersfield to stay with Trezell's mother. Ryan stated that when he watched the surveillance video, he only saw 4 children entering the van. Today, the defense played that full surveillance video for the jury, asking Ryan if he was able to make out any of the individuals by their faces or clothing. He was not. The defense asked if he could tell if anyone was carrying a child in the video. Again, he couldn't. The video also showed another individual across the street as the family got into the van and left. But Ryan stated that he doesn't know if that person was ever questioned regarding how many children got into the van. Now, other witnesses to testify today included several crime lab officers who helped collect evidence. From that, we learned that fingerprints on the backyard glass sliding door were never tested. No blood was found in the house, and a used diaper had sat in the trash can for a year before it was collected into evidence.
A year? A used diaper for a year? A year. This is crazy. Snazzy said, what? A year? Yeah. Who could imagine? Who could imagine 1 year? That is beyond gross. It is just sickening to think about. Hello, Heather. Hello, Walking Dead. Hello, Amy. This is just sick. Absolutely sick.
One of the most closely watched trials in Kern County history is now in the hands of a jury. Both sides presenting closing arguments today in the murder trial of Trezell and Jacqueline West, charged with killing their 2 adopted boys months before reporting them missing in December of 2020. In his closing argument today, prosecutor Eric Smith told the jury Trezell and Jacqueline West are adept at telling lies. Smith claimed they lied to law enforcement, their parents, and even their own children. Ultimately, Smith said the West's 4 other children unraveled their parents' scheme. When a California City police officer interviewed the children the day after Orrin and Orson were reported missing, they all said the same thing. They hadn't seen their brothers for weeks. A week later, the West's eldest biological child came forward with startling information. He told a social worker he saw Orrin die at the family's apartment in Bakersfield in September. He said his parents never called 911 for help.
They let him die. Because why? They knew that their lives would functionally end at that point. That's it. Their whole lives are based on money for what? 4 kids that they've adopted. That's the whole basis of their lives. They've been warehousing children, that'd be done. They'd be prosecuted from a crime, but most importantly, their 2 biological children would be taken away. And for all the stuff that they did to their adopted children, they absolutely 100% loved and adored those biological children. All the circumstantial evidence points to one thing. They were never in Cal City.
Smith said it's unclear exactly what led to Orrin's death, but afterward, the West conspired to kill Orson. In its closing argument, the defense said police focused on Trezell and Jacqueline West from the beginning, ignoring other possibilities. They say police didn't look into the dozens of sex offenders living in California City and didn't thoroughly check a tip reporting the boys had been seen in Arlington, Texas.
The whole theory just doesn't even add up. One of the boys dies because you might have beaten him so bad, or you might have given him a shake, so then you just get rid of the other one because then that would be obvious if you just had one kid. They're doing it for money, but they're going to get rid of 2. You would just run this same theory and say one of them wandered off. Why would you have to say the second one? They're not shoes, they're not earrings. Like, that would be suspicious. If you've got a confession or some bodies or some hard evidence, well, then yeah, it is what it is. Not on this.
Overt acts, things that are done.
The Kern County Superior Court jury will return for deliberations beginning tomorrow morning.
KGET.com court reporter Jason Katowski joining us in studio now with more on today's closing arguments. You've been there every day of this trial. Tell us more today about the prosecution's closing argument. I understand it lasted for several hours.
Yes, prosecutor Eric Smith, over a 2-hour closing argument, said exactly how Orrin and Orson died remains unclear, and it's also unclear whether it was Trezell or Jacqueline who killed them, but he said both were involved in the deaths and need to be held responsible. Smith said the West adopted children not out of love, but because the state paid them $1,000 a month for each child, making the children their primary source of income. He said they just wanted the money and didn't love their adopted sons like their 2 biological children. And there was testimony that the West were physically abusive with the adopted children. Smith said the West's eldest child saw Orrin die. That boy testified he saw Orrin vomit and his body turn cold. And his parents told him to stay quiet because if anyone else found out, the other children, including him, would be taken away. He said the West moved to California City a week later and Orson disappeared. Smith said the West conspired to kill Orson and got rid of his body too, and then waited 3 months to report the 2 boys missing, giving them plenty of time to concoct a story, get new cell phones, and make other preparations to back up their story.
So what did the defense say to counter that argument, Jason?
The defense argued that this was a shoddy investigation from the beginning, with California City Police failing to write reports or get video evidence of everything they did, and forgetting to mention one person they spoke with entirely. Alexia Torres Stallings, lead attorney for Jacqueline West, said there are no confessions in this case and there isn't an overwhelming amount of evidence. She said investigators should have conducted more DNA testing and taken fingerprint evidence, and she said there was a lot more that could have been done in this case overall. Timothy Hennessy, lead counsel for Trezell West, said police had blinders on. They didn't check on the dozens of registered sex offenders living in the area, follow up on a tip that the boys were seen in Arlington, Texas, or take a serious look at the boys' biological family.
All right, so what happens next?
Well, the jury has this case now. Closing arguments wrapped up shortly before 4:30, and the 12 jurors went to the back to start deliberating. They will resume deliberating at 9 a.m. tomorrow, and then it's just a waiting game to see when and if they come back with a verdict.
Now, we've all been reflecting in the newsroom how difficult a case this is for any juror because of the lack of hard evidence. All of the evidence presented is essentially circumstantial evidence.
Yes, with the exception of the testimony of the eldest child who says that he witnessed Orrin die, the rest is circumstantial evidence. But prosecutor Eric Smith pointed out that circumstantial evidence under the law holds just as much weight as direct evidence, and the jury needs to consider all that.
Yeah, there have been convictions, I know, based only on circumstantial evidence with no body, right?
That's right. This is, while somewhat unusual to have a no-body homicide, it's not unheard of at all, and there have been convictions.
All right, Jason Katowski, KGET.com. Thanks for the update.
Thanks,
Thank you.
All right. Well, I hate to say this, but KGET has now said they are not going to live stream this. So what to do? I don't understand what is going on. They said yesterday they would, I have a very bad feeling. Duty Ron said you could stream him while he gets the information. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let's just see what happens.
But there's never a sure thing with a jury.
Yeah, message agreed. Melanie, I know you're in California, but you're far, far away from Bakersfield. You're going to a concert tonight with family, and you were so kind. You just got in at 4 a.m. California time.
Yeah.
So, Mel, what's your thoughts on this?
You know, when I heard that this verdict was coming in today, I thought, well, maybe I'll go to Bakersfield, but it's 3.5 hours away. I never would have made it in time. This is the day that we've all been waiting for. My thoughts are that I really think the jury gave this case a lot of consideration. I know people thought they were out for a very long time, but really, when you think about it, they went out late on Tuesday. They deliberated Wednesday, Thursday, so it wasn't even 3 full days. They did ask for a couple readbacks of the testimony of Adrian and of the testimony of the neighbor who had the cameras that were focused on the house the day that the boys were reported missing. So I think they've given this case a lot of consideration, and we all have our fingers crossed here that we're going to get justice today. We're classic and sincere, so
Yeah,
I'm hopeful,
absolutely.
but I'm very nervous.
We're keeping our fingers crossed. I actually didn't get much sleep last night because I did an 11:45 p.m. live stream New York time, and I didn't get to sleep till probably about 3:30. So I'm asking everybody in the chat to put some blue hearts and prayer emojis for a just and righteous verdict. We want guilty across the board. We don't know what we're going to get, and it's very hard to predict what a jury is going to say or do. And I know, Ed Wallace, you also have a lot of experience as a professional who testifies at at trials and so forth. Juries, they surprise us a lot, right, Ed?
Yeah, absolutely. And some of them will get hung up on the fact that they don't have any bodies.
Right. And
Okay.
Here we are in a no-body homicide case too.
Yeah, and they have to look at the totality of the circumstances here. Like I said, I had a no-body homicide of a mother and son, and they were found they were found guilty and convicted of the homicide based on the totality of both the circumstantial and forensic evidence that we discovered.
Right. So a lot of people are getting caught up on that part, Ed, is that they're saying, well, because we don't have a body, that it's tough for them to come to a guilty verdict. But we heard the district attorney in Kern County. She mentioned at the press conference a long, long time ago when they were arrested and going to trial that they've successfully prosecuted quite a few no-body homicide cases in Kern County. So that's the good news. Melanie, I wanted to go to you on some of your take on the legal aspects of, what are the possibilities of what we could see here? We could see a guilty, not guilty, and what are some of the other possibilities that the jury could come back in? Let's go over all those while we're waiting.
Right. Well, I'm just looking at the Twitter feed for KGET, and they have not even let the press in yet. All the attorneys are there. Bailiff said they're dealing with some issues, but they hope to begin letting people in soon. I mean, look, based on the evidence, they could find the defendants guilty of the murder of Orrin, because we have direct testimony from Adrian saying that he saw Orrin die, or that he saw his body after he died and he touched it and it was cold.
And was told.
Was told that he died. They could also infer the death of Orson based on the fact that they lied and said that he was with Grandma Maria. Maria says she never babysat for those kids and never took care of the kids. And then Wanda's testimony about the kids allegedly being in the back seat. There's so many dots to connect here. And I really think that it's not a far leap to assume, yes, the boys are dead. Yes, they did kill them. Even without bodies, that is a possibility. And that's the one we're hoping for here.
Yeah, we're hoping and praying. And I mean, there's so many people here in the chat throwing up those prayer emojis and the blue hearts. And there was the defense heavily questioned a lot of the investigators' techniques and also their experience. And you know, when you and I got together early on in this case, we talked about Bakersfield, California, having a large police department, but California City is a small, very, very small police department. And the DA admitted in his closing that they were not equipped to handle this type of investigation. And you know, Ed, remember we said it was a good thing that they reached out to not only the FBI but also Bakersfield Police Department. How important is that when it comes to crime scene and evidence collection to have an experienced police department? I know you talk about it all the time.
Well, the more experienced you are, the less likely you are to make a mistake. Okay. Everybody's got to crawl before they walk, and everybody's got to walk before they can run. If you don't have the experience under your belt to conduct a thorough crime scene investigation, you may have all the book knowledge in the world, all the training in the world. Okay. If you don't have the practice, it could hinder the investigation, because a lot of lessons are learned by making tiny little mistakes in the beginning of your career, and then understanding those mistakes, understanding the correct protocols and procedures that need to be applied. And also, these are perishable skills. And if you don't use them, you lose them. So if you're not out there conducting forensics every day, like there are certain agencies in the federal government, you know, they have like an evidence response team, but they're not doing it 24/7, 365. They wear multiple hats, and so they never truly get the needed experience, and it sometimes is reflected in how they do things and what they collect and what they submit as evidence.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. You bring that up quite often, Ed. You know, rushing to collecting evidence in an improper way. And I think, Melanie, you can agree. We watched the defense attack every aspect of, even when they had the forensic examiner, the female who interviewed the boys. They questioned the tactics that they use and the communication they use on Facebook. They made a mistake by communicating on Facebook. Melanie, you think that's going to hurt?
No,
in this case?
here's what I think is they're going to look at. And look, juries don't leave their common sense at the door, right? The night they were reported missing, they said that they were playing with chalk on the back deck and they must have run out the gate. There were no footprints in the dirt. There was no groove in the dirt from the gate having been opened. Those are two.
All right, Melanie, we got the verdicts coming in right now. I've got the audio feed. Let me come back to all of us here. I'm listening right now to it. Judge is giving instructions at this time.
Let me just jump in here real quick with a possible prediction. They may convict them of illegally disposing of a body.
Hold on, Ed. Unable to reach a verdict on 2 of the counts. He's bringing the jury in. Go ahead, Ed. I'm listening.
I'm saying if they don't get him on the homicide, they may convict on illegally disposing of a body or mishandling of a decedent or something to that effect.
Yes, 5 out of the 7 verdicts have been reached.
Interesting.
So they're hung on 2 counts.
Yeah.
Which could be the murder counts.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
The judge is inferring and giving instructions in case there is a mistrial. All right. All right, he's giving instructions to the audience right now.
Please behave.
No big loud outbursts, no matter what the verdict is. And I'm sorry, guys, my other headphone crapped out on me. All right, they're bringing the jury in right now. I'm listening to it live.
They're going to ask.
My heart is pounding.
They're going to ask the jury if there's anything further that could help them reach a verdict on the 2 other counts. If not, they're going to declare a mistrial on those 2 counts.
Right. Melanie, do you have access to this audio or no?
I'm listening to it as well.
Okay.
But I'm also watching the Twitter feed.
I'm going to put you full screen just for a second, if you can.
Sure.
I just got to do something here.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. All right, you're full screen now.
Okay. So,
All right, this is an uncomfortable moment. Go ahead, Mel.
well, we're not hearing anything yet. That they're bringing the jury in. So they may pull the jury and ask each one individually if there's anything that they can further deliberate on that would help them reach a verdict on the 2 counts they have not reached a decision on. Again, my gut tells me that those are the 2 murder charges, but we are going to have to see.
I'm with you on that, Melanie.
In the event of a mistrial on the 2 murder counts, my understanding would be that they may be able to be tried again if bodies are eventually found. I don't know. This is very tense here.
Yeah, typically that's the case on the mistrial. They may be able to go after them again on those 2 counts.
Right, because it's not a not guilty verdict, right? So
Right.
double jeopardy would not attach.
That's correct.
Courtroom is packed. Giselle and Jacqueline are present with their attorneys. Prosecutor Eric Smith, lead investigator Sergeant Thomas Hernandez from Bakersfield Police Department is in the courtroom. It'll be interesting to see if any of the juries decide to talk to the media after they're back. Judges on the bench. Asking the foreperson. Counts 4 and 5.
Here on your note on behalf of all the jurors that you do not believe further deliberation will result in a verdict. Is there anything further, any clarification of the law, further argument from counsel, anything that any juror believes would be of assistance in regards to reaching a verdict as those two have? So I'll go one by one. Juror number 1, juror number 2, number 3, number 4.
What does he mean by this, Melanie?
He's polling the jury to ask them if there's anything further that they could discuss that would help them reach a verdict on counts 4 and 5. I don't have the counts numbered in front of me. Do you have that, Ron?
I don't have them numbered. I would assume that the first top counts are the murder charge.
That's what I would assume too.
It goes highest to lowest.
I'm going to see if I can find the verdict sheet.
Okay. Mistrial on those 2 counts, 4 and 5.
Without telling me who voted what way, because that's not important. What was the vote on count 4? How many votes guilty? How many votes not guilty? And what about count 5? All right, we'll go ahead and take the verdict forms.
So counts 4 and 5, mistrial. Melanie, you'll have to explain to us what that means at the end for the people that are watching.
I only heard that on count 5 they were 10 guilty, 2 not guilty. I think that's what I heard.
First for
Yeah, and
West,
count 4, 8 and 4.
Jacqueline West.
8 guilty, 4 not.
Start with West.
Right, they're doing them individually. They're starting with Giselle West first.
Just so that it's clear, the jury reached a verdict yesterday late in the day, and we received a note about 4:25, and we weren't able to take the verdict.
I'm just going to clarify something. The 2 charges they did not reach a verdict on were second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder as they apply to Orson West only. Those are the 2 counts.
So murder.
Ronnie. Guilty of murder in the second degree for Trezell.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Guilty of felony involuntary manslaughter.
Yep.
Guilty of felony willful
Cruelty to a child. Yes.
Guilty of felony cruelty to a child with regard to Orson. That's count 6. Guilty to the misdemeanor of false report of the emergency.
Perfect. This is a
Ron,
good
do you
thing.
do you have your thing on a different device? Because the viewers can hear it and they're saying turn it down.
Mr. Smith, is there any reason why the court should not accept the verdict?
I had it in my ear. I was listening to it in my ear. All right, I have it down.
Okay.
He's asking about polling now. All right, I'm just keeping notes of all of this. Mel, are you writing some of this down too?
Yeah.
All right.
They are going to poll the jury. I think it was the defense attorney that's asking for the polling. They're going to ask each juror individual that if that was their true verdict.
Yep. This is a great thing. So from what I'm gathering is they found them guilty of murder of one of the boys and
Orrin.
were hung up on Orson.
Correct.
Because that was the child where we heard the testimony about the blue and white cooler, the ice chest going out
Wait,
to the
hang on.
dumpster. All right, now it's Jacqueline's turn. All right, so now it's Jacqueline. You guys can't hear what I'm listening to, right?
I hear it in my headphones because I have it on my computer.
Guilty of murder, Jacqueline.
For Orrin.
Involuntary manslaughter, guilty, Jackie.
For Orrin.
Willful cruelty, guilty.
Guilty.
Willful cruelty, guilty. Again.
That's with respect to Orson.
Yes. Okay, false report, guilty.
Guilty of a false report.
Man, my heart is, I'm so happy right now, but I'm so worried about what we got to hear about here with this mistrial part.
Well, I say they take the win and they don't prosecute on the last two.
They're still
There's
going to get
enough-
life for the one, right?
Right. There's enough time here that they're going to serve, life imprisonment for the one homicide.
Right.
Save the taxpayers some money. Don't go after those last two mistrials.
Right, and it shows just how much they considered all of the evidence. You know, the evidence against Orson was a thud, right?
Right. So, guys, they're going to have the life in prison on the murder charges on the one murder charge, but plus the conspiracy. That's also, I believe, 20 years, 20 to life or 25.
And willful cruelty, felony willful cruelty to a child. I don't think that they're going to get out anytime soon. And
as far as I'm concerned with this, and I think Ed and Melanie, we all are in agreement, they won't ever see the light of day again. They'll live their rest of their natural born life in a cage behind bars where they belong.
Right, and then this way, if they ever do find a body.
All right, what do you guys think? What do you think? Quit. I just cannot believe this verdict. I really can't. Let's look at the first interview with the so-called parents.
We just want to thank everyone in the community for all the support we've seen. We've felt so helpless, and seeing everybody out here really looking and helping out really means a lot.
So tell us what happened the night this kids went missing.
Okay.
From our yard.
Okay. It was cold. I was gonna make a fire. It's a lot of wood in this area right here next to our house. I opened up the back gate. I'm throwing wood, bringing it inside the house. My wife's inside. She was actually wrapping gifts, so we thought it was a good idea that our youngest two go outside and play with chalk on the back patio. Do not let them go on the dirt in the backyard. And keep them close. They was playing with chalk, and I came in the house. I saw them there. I went in the house. I came back out. I didn't see them there. I immediately went back in, asked my wife, "Did you see the boys?" She said, "No, they should be outside playing with chalk." I said, "Well, I didn't see them." So I came back outside and I started searching my backyard. I searched the whole thing. I realized that I left the gate open and I panicked, came inside the house, searched the house, me and my wife. Once that hadn't pan out, I got in the van. I looked down the street, both directions. It was getting dark, getting cold, and I got in the van and I hit a bunch of corners. I went down this street. I turned my light on. I searched. I called their names. Talked to a gentleman on the street on the other side over there. He didn't see me. So then I came home and I told my wife we need to call the cops. It's getting dark and I need help. We got to get going. So I called the cops. Cops came. First thing they did was tell us to stay in the house so they can get a hold of us. And they had us just sitting there and we wanted to keep searching. But everybody came out in droves. And I wanted to thank you guys that night, but we couldn't go outside.
The cops told us the best are out here.
The best are out here searching. And we appreciate it. And nobody ever could tell, we could never talk to anybody. And that was the issue.
We just want to thank everybody.
We really want to thank you guys.
Please, if anybody has seen them, please call, let somebody know.
Call the cops. Call California's the city police department. Call them and let them know what you've seen, if you see anything. Our boys, they are going to be rambunctious, okay? They are going to be here in this area. And I really would like to go in the houses, but it's not because I want to invade people's privacy. I just want to know if make sure. That's it. because I don't. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. If you got any questions.
Oh no, you're good.
Oh, okay.
I was just gonna say, this is the first time we're hearing from you guys, and I can't imagine what you guys are going through. I can't even fathom it. For you guys, for people who are thinking that there's some kind of foul play involved, we just spoke to the biological mother. She says she had a conversation with you guys, and that she thinks there's some kind of foul play involved. That she thinks you guys did something.
And that's understandable.
What's your response to that?
That's understandable. I would think the same thing.
Yep.
I mean, that's exactly the point. And if we can find our babies, then guess what? That's no. And that's all I want is to find our babies. That's it. And I talked to her this morning, and I really wanted to tell her that I am completely sorry because we were entrusted with her children, and they came to us, and they became our children. We named them, and they are our children, and so we want them back. So please, if y'all could get back on what you guys are doing, we should be able to get a hold of somebody, but they took all of our tech, so they wanted to, I guess, just rule us out, which makes sense as part of the investigation. So that's pretty much it.
Have you guys, you talked to the police all last night?
Yes.
What, so you guys willfully gave them your
Everything.
technology?
Yes.
The car?
Yes.
Did they get it? How did they get a search warrant? Did you
I
guys?
I,
no
I don't see
idea.
why they got one, but they got one. We
Yeah,
would have
they
let them
didn't
take
need one,
anything.
but
We would have let them take everything. We let them come in and search with us. We asked them to come do that.
What did they take?
Just tech, and that's it. Like our phones.
From the house, though, did they?
Oh well, I guess should I answer that or?
Answer it does, yeah.
Okay, so into the okay, and I guess I don't even know.
I see. Yeah, we seriously felt like we needed to be out here. We did. Uh, Again, we were told the best are out here looking already. Just to stay put, they have more questions. There was literally a cop with us the whole time in there.
He had sitting down. We would ask, can we go help? They had to sit
He said
down.
nope.
He said, no, we got the best out there.
So
We
it's
need
not.
you guys here in case we have more questions.
I don't want you guys thinking we
don't.
didn't try. We actually
We
looked
tried.
before we called
We
the
looked,
police.
yes.
And I imagine the mind-boggling part is the search for information. What happened? Where are they?
Yes.
Et cetera, et cetera.
And we're, yeah.
And just so we are able to present the information correctly, at what time did you guys notice your kids went missing? And at what time were they reported missing to the police?
It's about, I believe, I think it was about 4:30, going on 5. It was getting dark, like I said. 5-ish. That's about it. That's when everything played out.
And then when did you guys call the police to report them missing?
After we searched
Yeah.
a little bit around here, it was dark, so we definitely we got worried.
Would you say it was maybe within an hour, a couple hours?
No, it was within minutes of us getting finished with our search. It was within minutes.
What do you guys want people at home to understand about this situation? For them, even speaking about what you guys are feeling is difficult. What do you want them at home to understand about this whole situation?
We're going through it. It's difficult. I mean, everybody's making their own their own conclusions. They don't know anything. We're not sure like everything. We're not sure. We said what we knew, and if anybody has seen them or anything, please call the police department.
Would you be willing to provide pictures, or do you have any?
I have older pictures. All my newest were on my phone.
Okay.
A lot of people are speaking of this as, after the math, past tense. I want to talk about your kids in present tense. What kind of boys are these? Tell us about the boys.
Very playful, very rambunctious, and they do love to wrestle. They do love to kind of get rough with each
They're
other.
kids.
They're kids. of course, they would love to go out, but we would. So during the pandemic, we weren't trying to go, you know, out here, and so we stayed inside. Yes,
Yes.
we did. We searched before we called the cops. That's what we were
Yeah.
saying.
What time did they come up missing?
They came missing right before it got dark. And then we call. I searched the property. I even drove around this neighborhood right here. I even talked to a gentleman on that side, one of those streets over there. I said, "Did you see some little black kids?" And that way looking for them. That's the way I was gonna come. But when I came back home, I decided to call the cops because it was dark. They couldn't have got away that fast.
And why did it take two people to go in the house and leave two kids out here by themselves? It should have been one parent going in and one parent right here watching the child, not two parents going in the house and leaving two little kids out here by themselves for 10 minutes.
No, they were in the backyard. And the back gate was open.
Out the backyard.
And the back gate was open, and I was getting wood from this lot here.
So you guys were being unresponsible, left the gate open, left some little kids outside with the gate open.
All right. Sorry, you guys were talking about your boys who you're, I understand. For a mother's intuition, I know you were saying, and we'll get your names after this, but you were saying how you feel like they're in this area. Do you feel the same way? And what is the intuition? What is the sense you get? What do you think happened to your boys? Do you think someone took them? Do you think they're lost? Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely know they're not walking around. They're not that kind. They do not just roam around. These patches. They definitely, I think, definitely would have been picked up or something.
That was my assumption.
Have they ever taken off of the yard
No.
before?
No.
No.
They've never taken off.
No.
Insane. Insane. And I think she's more responsible than him. One child is not both children. My God. Court case said, I've only listened to one channel that does recaps, but I'm afraid they don't have enough evidence. And that's true. And that's true. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. And sometimes the gun is jumped. Okay? That's what happens sometimes. When you start the clock, it's not a good idea. So when people want fast justice, you don't get it. In my opinion, this is not justice. It's just not. So when people want to protest and break down the doors and be assholes, let the police do their job. Just Me said, no, ma'am, only half measures. Both babies need justice. Ozzy said second degree and involuntary manslaughter, not good enough. Not good enough. They deserve full justice. Full justice. Good God.